My name is James Stone. I was born in Ellicottville, New York. I was born and raised on Fish Hill Road at the base of where Hollymont Ski Resort is today. Matter of fact, in my younger days, I drawed hay off in Hollymont in a horse and wagon and put it in the barn, which is on the road, the main road going into Hollymont at the present time. The barn is still there. I went to school down in Ellicottville in the old schoolhouse, 1887 building now, and I was drafted into the service. I went into Buffalo. There was 100 and some of us draftees, and there was 81 of us inducted into the service. I came home for 1 week. We formed in front of about Main Street. The school band came down and played, and we marched. The 81 of us marched down Main Street. We went up to the depot, which is off the end of Mill Street. They put us on a train, took us into Buffalo. We went to Fort Niagara. We were in Fort Niagara get our equipment, and it was really cold there. From there, I left Fort Niagara and went to Biloxi, Mississippi, to Keesler Field to take my basic training. In Biloxi, we took our basic, as I said, and it was quite warm because it was so cold when we left New York State that it was pitiful. In Biloxi, I met several boys from Ellicottville, which was pleased for me, and we had quite a time there. I remember one night, our tents were right on the coastline or in the sand, and the tide came in and washed our shoes out. Went for a ride, but so then I left Biloxi and went up to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and did some more training. Went to what they call truck driver school, where I drove truck and we toured all over Cheyenne, Laramie, all over there for training. From Cheyenne, I went out to Spokane, Washington, and we did some more training out there. And I was put in the 931st Aviation Engineers. The outfit was formed there. And from Washington, we went to Camp Stoneman in California and staged for going overseas. Oh, they got us most of our equipment. We got our guns and all of that. We didn't have them when we got there. But then we loaded on the boats, and I said to myself, I'm not going to get seasick. But I chummed the fish with the rest of the GIs. There was 5,000 of us on that boat. Went on the Golden Gate, Camp Stone, right out there in Frisco. Yeah. And went overseas. We were 30 days. My biggest problem on the boat was between sunrise and sunset, we had to be all on deck with our life preservers on. And once we got out there where it was quite warm and warmer, it wasn't too comfortable. But we finally ended up down in the lower end of the New Guinea Islands and got inshore, set up camp. We got our bulldozers and our trucks and our equipment, survey equipment. We laid out an airstrip and put that in. It was quite a chore. In Lower New Guinea, we lived in tents and had our foxholes were right side of our tents. Most of them were. And one night I remember we were having an air raid. The Japs were bombing us pretty heavy that night. One of the fellas jumped up. There were 6-man tents, and he jumped up and he hit the tent pole and it come down on top of us, all of us. Oh, you never seen such a scramble to get out and get in our foxholes, but we finally made it. That was just one of the small things that happened to us as we went. We went on up to Hollandia and built another airstrip and put up headquarters for General MacArthur. He was coming back in, and we finally got them built up. We were just one of the engineer outfits there, not us. My job was I drove truck for the buildings. I had a post hole digger, they called it, and did bulldozing work and stuff like that. I didn't do any survey work, but that was left to some of the technicians, I guess. From Hollandia, we loaded on the LSTs and went up to the island of Luzon in the Philippines and went in on the first invasion of the Philippines. It wasn't a pleasant landing because at that time the Japs had two 12-inch naval guns up on the mountain, and they had them on a railroad track. They would roll them out on the track, fire onto the beach, roll them back in. The Navy couldn't get them with their guns. They finally had to send the Marines up to quiet those guns down.
Were they shooting around the clock? I mean,
no, just periodically coming in to get us. On my way off to the boat into Luzon, I was driving my truck and big trailer, and I didn't quite make it to shore. It got in the water a little bit too deep, I believe. But I tell you, when we hit that beach and those shells started coming, I think I still got sand in my fingernails. I'm not sure. But we spent about 9 months in the Philippines. I went all the way from Lingayen Gulf down into Manila. I went all the way down to Cabanatuan, where they had 3,000 prisoners off in Bataan, where they marched them to. We came back into Manila, and while we were there, they stuck a Bailey Bridge across the Jones River and went into Wall City and rescued the 3,000 internees there and back out. So it was kind of a exciting time for all of us GIs. Well, it wasn't the easiest landing. I do have pictures of it somewhere out in the car. But I went up to Baguio in the Philippines and while we were up there, we did a little R&R, and Baguio was pretty well banged up. That's the summer capital of the Philippines. The road up to Baguio was a 2.5-hour drive with our trucks. We came out of Baguio, went down and loaded on the LSTs. We set out in the harbor for 10 days. We didn't know what was going on. We just had sea ration, and it was kind of warm. And after 10 days, they dropped the atomic bomb, and they put us into Japan in a hurry. I'm sure if we'd had to invade Japan before the atomic bomb, it would have been the end of us. In Japan, I went into Wakayama, went overland to Nagoya and Osaka, and different spots there. But finally, after 2.25 years, they loaded us on the boats and brought us back into Seattle, Washington. And from there, I came through by troop train to New York City and was discharged out of Fort Dix, New Jersey. And back home I came. On Hollandia, when was working on General MacArthur's headquarters, I was working the late shift or night shift, you might call it, and I'd gone and to get in my cot. Of course, we have to put mosquito nettings down because the mosquitoes were so terrible. And all of a sudden, my mosquito netting come flying up, and I looked up, and here was my first cousin, Anson Stone, who had dropped in. He was in the 501st Paratroopers, and he came to see me. What a pleasant surprise that was. Him and I had a nice chat. We went out to the mess hall and had lunch together. He stayed for probably 3 or 4 hours, and he had to catch a plane back where he was at. Well, I don't know how he was there. But I suppose that somebody from home probably wrote and told him that I was there. Yeah, but it really was a great thing. And since then, this Hanson, they come and see me. He stood up for me when I got married, and I stood up for him when he got married. When I was on detached service in Manila, there was a lieutenant that needed a Jeep. So my outfit sent me with this Jeep to take it to Manila and chauffeur him around. And while I was there, they called me back to my outfit. And somehow or other, I got on the wrong road back to my outfit, and I had a little problem with the Jeep, so I told them, and a flat tire and a radiator trouble. But I went to Subic Bay, and John Widger, who was a boy that I grew up with in Ellicottville, was there in the Navy, and so I spent several hours with John. And then I couldn't travel nights at that time because they had a blackout in effect. But I did get back to my outfit eventually. We're on our boat out in Luzon in the bay. I was on LST 759, and we set out there, and the sun was pretty warm, and drinking water was pretty short, and we got to know some of the Navy men, and we could pay them a quarter, and they would go down in the mess hall and get us a canteen of water for a quarter, which did taste good, but we were only supposed to have 2 canteens a day. Well, it don't take long to get rid of that down your stomach, but that's the way it went. We don't know. Apparently the airplanes had not got over there yet, because they had to assemble that atomic bomb after they got over to one of the islands. I can't tell you which one, but before they went on in. The components of it, they didn't take it across in one year. We had no idea, Vince. Not the slightest. Well, we knew that they dropped them, and we didn't know what we were getting into, but as we went into the shores in Wakayama, it looked like the Japs were ready for us to invade them, but they did not shoot at us, so, which was good. We'd have never made it to the Seattle. I noticed a lot of boats in the harbor, but they had them covered up with some kind of a cloth. I don't know what it was. But we were just wanting to get off in the water, I guess, and hit land. And it was very hard to transport over some of the roads in Japan when we got there, because everything was flat. The only thing we went by is a tree stump for driving, or an old sign. And some of the roads we had to get the dozers out and do a little work ahead of us, because the United States had bombed everything. You see, Vince, years ago, when this happened, the United States went in and dropped a lot of bombs on the roadways where the water lines were in the cities. And that knocked out the water lines. And then they went in and dropped incendiary bombs, and that set everything afire. And they couldn't fight the fire. The general public of the Japanese people received us GIs very well. We were informed that we'd have to be in squads of 10 to 12 men if we went out any, but I have told other people that maybe some GIs won't tell you that, but we were just as welcome, and they were glad the war was over as we were, and they treated us real fair, and we can't complain one bit.